Hi guys, as you're probably aware, the format's quite stale at the moment as we're all still waiting for the ban list. Maybe it'll come, maybe it won't, who knows, it's been quite a long time. So me and my friends have been playing a lot of GOAT recently, so this is my list and this is what I find to work best for me. It's heavily inspired from Chris Borovich's list, so I hope you guys enjoy. So to start things off, I play one copy of Air Knight Parshath. A lot of people play two copies of this card, but I dropped the second copy in favour of Jinzo. And this is because I've noticed that a lot of players recently have been using a bigger trap lineup, and by that I mean multiple copies of Sakuretsu armor. And Jinzo just cuts this off straight away. It's just a more aggressive card. And it's so good with Call of the Haunted, Premature Burial, etc. One copy of BLS. This card, which just sacks games out of nowhere, games you didn't deserve to win, but you have to play it. Next up, one copy of Jora Priest. I've seen a lot of players dropping this card actually, and in a format where you've got multiple copies of Scapegoat, this card is just so aggressive. It allows you to combo so well with other cards. It's just a board wipe the majority of the time. Break of the Magical Warrior. It's a free plus. You get rid of one of your opponent's back rows. Obviously, you don't want to waste it on cards like Scapegoat, but once you can make reads on your opponent's back row, this card just simplifies the game state. One copy of DD Warrior Lady. A lot of people have been dropping this card again, but I love this card because it deals with massive problems like Jinzo, like Air Knight, like BLS. Next up, one copy of Exarion Universe. Exarion Universe is so important in this format, mainly because it's absolutely massive. It's got a 1900 defense, which is so hard to swing over. Air Knight doesn't even get over it. And its little effects, which lets you to poke for little bits of damage, are really quite big because they often bring your opponent within range of BLS/Ring of Destruction Death, which happens a lot. So yeah, Exarion's a good pick. Next up, two copies of Magician of Faith. Magician of Faith is basically an abusable flip effect in this format because you play one of the most broken spell lineups in the history of the game. Probably not the most broken, but one of the most broken, definitely. And the ability to recycle all of your power spells is insane. Next up, one copy of Jar. Jar serves one purpose in the deck, which is bringing you back into the game if you're losing. You normally don't play into Jar. Jar is normally your last resort, which is why you need to play it properly. And by that I mean not setting your entire hand and then setting this, because that immediately telegraphs to your opponent that you're setting Jar and hoping to resolve it. So expect it to get knocked, basically. One copy of Sangan. We play one copy of Sangan because it searches the majority of the deck. But more often than not, you'll be searching this. The reason you search this is to give you protection against Delinquent Duo. And it's also fodder for Graceful Charity, Tribe Infecting Virus. And it also combos quite well with Meta for Thousand Eyes Restrict. One Spirit Reaper. Not everyone plays this card. I personally like it because it allows you to simplify the game state, use your other monsters, which are generally bigger, to keep threats off the board, and keep poking through with this. It's just more card advantage. Next up, one copy of Tribe Infecting Virus. You have to play the one tribe because it's so abusable in this deck. It gets you over everything. If you've got trouble clearing Exarion, Air Knight, Jinzo, this gets rid of it straight away. And the final monsters we play in the deck are two Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi are extremely good in this format. You play a lot of flip effects which are quite abusable, like Magician of Faith, like resolving Magician of Faith, flipping it face down with Tsukiyomi, and then getting a second time effect off of Magician of Faith. It's just busted when you look at the spell lineup. So, and it also clears Thousand Eyes Restrict. And there are some cool plays where you combo it with Nobleman. the Trinity that everyone speaks of, which is Pot of Greed, Graceful Cherry, and Delinquent Duo. Delinquent Duo rips cards out your opponent's hand, play it properly, you devastate the hand, and the draw cards. Now, the one-ofs in the deck. Premature Burial and Snatch Steal. These two are absolutely insane. These are cards that you really want to be holding your spell and trap removal for, because these are the cards which are literally going to end you. Snatch Steal especially. If you're leaving a BLS face up and you haven't seen your opponent play Snatch Steal yet, you should probably be quite afraid of that. 2 copies of Book of Moon. Again, this is a good card, but you need to know how to use it properly, because otherwise you'll just nag yourself. You need to be able to get over the threat on the board that you're booking. 1 copy of Tormenta Fuerte, or Heavy Storm. Card which should return. 1 copy of MST. Again, a card hugely important. You can't afford to blind space anything. You have to hold this card. 2 copies of Nobleman. Nobleman's huge in this format. You need to time it properly. You need to make reads on your opponent. You want to be hitting things like Magician of Faith, Morphing Jar, or you combo it with Tsukiyomi, of course. Tsukiyomi, a BLS, and Nobleman that. Right, Scapegoat. I actually play 3 copies of this card. I rarely see anyone play 3 copies. Most of the time I see 2 copies of this card, but I've seen a lot of people dropping it to 1 even. The reason I play 3 is mostly inspired by Chris Borovich, but I find that this card allows you to hold on to your resources a lot more. It allows you to wait, it allows you to be conservative, so you can wait to make your pushes. So I like 3 copies in this deck. And to go along with the 3 copies of Scapegoat, I play 3 copies of Metamorphosis. I absolutely adore this card. This card allows you to get the infamous combo with Thousand Eyes Restrict, but there's also quite a good few fusions in the deck that you'll want to be going into. So I think 3 is the right number. The trap lineup, 1 copy of Ring of Destruction. This card will win you a lot of games that you didn't deserve to win. That's what the card text should read. 1 copy of Mirror Force. You have to play around this card because this card is an absolute blowout if you walk into it. You never want to lose to this card. So 1 copy of Mirror Force. 1 copy of TT. Again, like Mirror Force, you don't want to overcommit to the board. It's all about little pushes of damage, and you need to be able to play around this card. Another one of Call the Haunted. Call the Haunted, amazing comboed with Jinzo. There are also some cool plays you can do. You can use BLS, Metamorphosis the BLS, then Call the Haunted the BLS. Like, there's so much you can do. Personal choice here. I play 2 copies of Sakuretsu Armor. The reason I do this is because, as I've said before, I like simplifying the game state. I like being able to poke through with little bits of damage and take advantage with cards like Spirit Reaper. This card just allows me to keep threats off my opponent's board. That's why I like it. And final card is 1 copy of Dust Tornado. Again, some people play 2 copies of this card in the main. I basically chose the 2nd copy of Sakuretsu over this, just because it just suits my playstyle more. I often hold my Dust Tornado or my MST anyway, so I don't really need more than 1 copy, and if I do, I side them. Okay, extra deck stuff, I don't really need to spend a lot of time on this. You need multiple copies. I'll show you the essentials. You need multiple copies of Thousand Eyes Restrict, because it takes threats off the board. Reaper on the Nightmare, really good card. You can get into him with Air Knight, basically like Spirit Reaper. Fiend Skull Dragon, more Air Knight targets. Dark Bolt of the Terrible, surprisingly difficult to get over. These are all the staples, guys. This is what you need. Darkblade, the Dragon Knight. Again, the artwork on these cards looks so incredible. Ryu Senshi. This you can get into with Jinzo, like Darkblade before it. And then you've got Gatling Dragon. Gatling Dragon, you can only get into it with BLS, but I find myself going into this quite a lot. If nothing else, then just to get BLS off the board. But I'm missing a couple of things from the extra deck. Like, obviously, the extra deck can go up to 80 cards. Well, some people play around that number anyway, because the extra deck, well, Fusion deck was unlimited in those days. But I'm not sure. Like, there's a couple of cards missing from there, like key things like a level 3 and level 4. You can play Darkfire Dragon or Flame Ghost for your level 3. But yeah, that is the deck profile. So if you guys are a bit bored of this format, you're sick of playing against Necros, just waiting for Konami to end that deck, like, give Go a try, you know, and see what you think. Alright, thank you.